You are now listening to the Building Her Dream podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with introverted women entrepreneurs who are building their dream lives and businesses on their own terms. Hosted by business operations strategist, author, and the founder of Building Her Dream, Shayla Burton. To learn more about this podcast and our magazine, visit www.buildingherdream.com. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm your host, Shayla Burton, and this is the Building Her Dream podcast. I'm so excited to chat with today's guest. She is a visibility expert who specializes in helping female entrepreneurs connect with their dream clients through podcast interviews. She empowers her clients to pitch themselves to the right podcast with ease, confidence, and authenticity. She's the founder of One Lucky Star, all the way from Romania. We have Nina Macarie. Hi, Nina. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Shayla, my fellow introvert friend. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. Now, if you've listened to the podcast before, you know that we are all about living and building our dream lives. So, Nina, I have to ask you, if you could wake up tomorrow and have the perfect dream life, what would that look like for you?
Oh, this is such an interesting question. I think I am on my way of living this dream life because I think it started when I started this business, because what I wanted was more time, more flexibility to spend with my kids, with my husband. And of course, you also want to have some income to support this life where you are able to travel more.
Yes.
And I think also a community is important, because when I started, I'm not sure if you can relate, but as an introvert, I thought that I need to do everything by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then, once I started the business and I started learning from people, I realized that maybe, yes, you can do it on your own, but when you do it with other people, it's so much easier.
Yes.
And you can grow faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey? So how did you get started?
Yes, it was always my dream to work in an international environment, even since I was in high school. So back then I had a different dream, because somehow it was in my family that you need to have this stable job, and all you have to do is to have a good paying job. So this is what I was aiming for. Living in Europe, the biggest organization that I knew was the European Union. So my goal was to work there. And I got there as an intern, but I was married for 4 years. I was willing to have my kids, but my husband was not interested in living abroad.
Okay.
So then I had to decide, is I will stay here and try to get a temporary job, but then I will not know what's going to happen with my family, or I come back and start my family, and then we will see what's going to happen. So I decided to come back because I knew that I have a good husband. He was always very, very supportive. And we had our 2 kids. I was a stay-at-home mom for more than 5 years. But we moved a lot, and I could not go to my last job when I wanted to go back to work. So I was looking for jobs, and I tried a few things here and there. but nothing seemed to be a good fit for me. I don't know, I was feeling trapped working a 9 to 5. This is
Mhm.
why I quit my last one only 9 days in, because I had this deep desire that somehow there is a possibility for me to help other moms who
Yes.
maybe are, I don't know, maybe far away in their business and they could need some support. I did not know what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
I just Googled, found some Facebook groups. I started as a social media manager, and then I did not like that. So then I started as a general VA. But here I had a huge problem. I did not know how to stand out.
Yes.
And then all the money I was making, I was investing in courses. I tried different things like Pinterest, WordPress, funnels. But again, nothing was a good fit for me until I found podcast guesting.
Hmm. Okay.
Yes, and then actually what was amazing, it was that I also found an amazing client, and then she referred me to a friend of hers. And this was huge for me because until then I was only landing short-term gigs.
Okay.
But now it was something different, and my first client had a huge impact on my journey because a few years later she became a mentor of mine,
Mhm.
and I learned a lot from her.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you, if I understand correctly, you help other entrepreneurs find podcast interviews and help them pitch to.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So I help them come up with some topic, with some titles.
Mhm.
Then I do all the research on their behalf. I do all the pitching. Sometimes this involves to fill out some forms, send
Mhm.
relevant information to podcast hosts. So I will take care of all those details. I make sure that I follow up because sometimes podcast hosts are busy, they do not respond to
Yes.
our first email. And also I make sure they have the details of the interview. Then we also
Gotcha.
send a thank you email, and I do all of that because, as a business owner, you are busy,
Yes.
you have different activities that you are going to do in order to be visible. So
Mhm.
this is how I support them.
Okay, that's great. So why do you think that podcast interviews are such a valuable tool for entrepreneurs?
I think that they are very valuable because they are allowing you to share your story. They
Mhm.
are allowing you to connect with those listeners that can relate to your story or to, I don't know, what you are sharing. Maybe you had some breakthroughs, some difficult challenges that you had to overcome. So it's not like a 5-second video that you will scroll on Instagram or on YouTube Shorts.
Right.
It's a long form content, and you are allowing your personality to shine on those podcast interviews.
Yeah.
And also for people like us, introverts, I think it's a great medium because right now, look at us. It's just you and me here
Mhm.
chatting. I don't feel any pressure like
Right.
I would feel if I would have to go live on any other platform. So for me, it's very easy to have this conversation with you or with any other podcast host.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Um, so for those of us who are new to pitching ourselves to podcasts, what are some tips that you can give us so that we can make a really great impression and get those interviews?
Absolutely. So my first clients were also podcast hosts,
Okay.
and I was able to help them managing their own guests. So I was able to see the pitches they were getting, and I also invested in other courses and programs that allowed me to come up with my own framework that I call P.I.T.C.H. And briefly, I'm going to walk you through it.
Sure.
So the P stands for prep your message. I think it's very important for you as a business owner to know exactly what you want to share on those podcast interviews. Because I've seen people, for example, in Facebook groups where people are asking for these opportunities, they are willing to share everything about entrepreneurship. Well, this is a very broad topic. Podcast hosts like you, right, want more details, more specificity. So you need to frame that broad topic so that is going to make sense for your podcast. Maybe, I don't know, this entrepreneurship could be how to start a business working from home as an introvert, for example. So you need to niche down those topics, and obviously you want to be an expert in that topic. This doesn't mean that you have to know everything under the sun about that topic, but you will want to make sure that you position yourself as an expert. And also here, I will include other details, such as having ready your bio, having ready your one sheet, or a few headshots, because most of the time podcast hosts are going to ask you for all these things. Yes. And then once you have this part done, you can move to the next step. It's the I from identify the right podcast for you. And here you want to be clear on who your ideal client is, right? Because your goal is going to be to put yourself in front of ideal clients. And also one thing that is important here, I think, is that your message needs to be a good fit for your podcast theme. For example, I don't know, I had a former client and she had a podcast for Christian women entrepreneurs. So, for example, if she was getting pitches about, I don't know, trading, Forex, and stuff like that, she was not interested in that because she was looking to support those working from home Christian female entrepreneurs. And they had other struggles. They were not interested in investing or other things like that. So you need to be aware that your message is aligned with that podcast that you want to be on.
Okay.
And then also is important for you, when you have this message nailed down, to have also a freebie and an offer that it's going to be, that they are connected. So everything has to be connected, because I remember I was listening to a podcast interview and the guest was sharing about some templates. And she said that you can download those templates on her website. So while I was listening, I typed in the name of the podcast. I found the episode notes. I went to her website, but I could not find the templates she was talking about. So I was, that's interesting. So no one will want to dig deeper. So you want to make sure that whatever you are going to share and put on those podcast notes, it's going to be some kind of evergreen thing that you have, or at least still keep the page and put a note. this, I don't know, freebie is no longer available, you can
Right.
find my other resources here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now that you know exactly who your ideal client is and what kind of podcast are you targeting, it's time to tailor each pitch that you are going to send. I don't have my own podcast, but working with podcaster, I know that there is a huge amount of work that you need to put in.
Yes.
So I really want to be respectful, and I think it's important to craft a tailored pitch for each podcast host, because you can tell as a podcaster, you will tell what pitches are just copy pasted messages, just general pitches, and the ones that will stand out to you because you can see that they understand your audience, or maybe they connected with you on some social media platform. They listen to a few episodes, so they know a little bit about your podcast and what is your podcast about. So you will know when a pitch is specifically written for you. So I think this is very important to pay attention to the pitches that you are sending, because this is going to help you get more yeses.
Right.
And then, so we have the P.I.T., we have the C. This is create your system. It's important for you to have a place where you are going to keep all the details, because I don't know, let's say that this week you are going to send 10 pitches. Well, maybe in 2 weeks when you want to follow up, you will not remember who are the people that you pitched to or who responded to you already. So when you have like an Excel spreadsheet or maybe your project management system and you put in there all the details, you will know exactly when to follow up. You will want to decide how many times you want to follow up. I usually send 2 follow-up emails.
Okay.
Maybe you decide to follow up on social media if you want. And again, it's important to keep track of the details that you send to those podcast hosts, because some of them might want to ask you some questions. Maybe they have a form and you want to show up ready and have all those things in place already. So it's going to help you have a system in place, and every time you have a system in place, it's going to make your life so much easier. And then finally, it's the H. This stands for hit the interview. And I think here is important for you, especially because it's a podcast, it's all about audio, and it's important for you to make sure that you have a good audio quality. So make sure that you have headphones. You can get a cheaper mic. You don't have to have the most expensive mic. This is going to help you because the built-in mic is not working usually very well.
Right.
And also you can use this mic for, I don't know, doing maybe lives or recording courses or programs or whatever other things you want to do. So I don't think it's an investment only for podcast guesting. And who knows, maybe at some point you can even start your own podcast. And yes, other than the audio, I think it's important to connect with the host, to share some relevant stories. And then I think, yeah, these are the most important things that you will want to pay attention to.
Wow. Wow. So thank you for sharing your pitch framework. Like those
Absolutely.
were some really great tips, especially the one about creating a system so that you can keep track of all of the podcasts that you are pitching to. That's a really smart idea, because you're right, we definitely won't remember who we've reached out to. So yeah, absolutely. Um So you mentioned previously that um, pod, doing podcast interviews are really great for introverts. Um, Now, for me, I still get anxiety when I think about having to do interviews. What can I do to like prepare, or what words of encouragement do you have for introverted women who may be hesitant to put themselves out there?
Yes, I can share with you what I did. So I felt the same way as you did. But then I knew that I want to be a better business owner. I knew
Yes.
that I want to be braver because I wanted to grow my business.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did that really helped me was to join networking events
Okay.
that had smaller breakout rooms, because if I join a big event, then I will just watch. But when you are in smaller breakout rooms,
Mm.
initially I was always the person who spoke the last, because I was waiting for others to ask me something.
Yes.
And, I think as introverts, we like to observe. And I think we learn better when we do this. But at some point, you realize that this is just a skill. And if you really want to improve it, you need to practice.
Yes.
So I was joining like a call every week.
Mm.
And yes, um, I started to share. Initially, I was just sharing like 3 words, my name and what I do. And
Mhm.
then, the more I did it, I started sharing more.
Okay.
And then what other thing that helped me was to be a guest on people that I already knew. So my first interview was with my first client, but I was spotlighted at her student. So I joined her program, and at the end of the program, she invited a few of the students to just have a conversation. And that also felt easy to me because I knew her, I knew the other students, so it was just a friendly conversation. So I think that this would be the best way for you as an introvert to start with, because I'm sure that you can find other friends who have podcasts, and
Right.
if your topic makes sense to be featured on their podcast, you can do a podcast swap. And again, it's just a friendly conversation. And I've seen people who will share the same recording. Maybe, you can tweak it and you will share different parts of that same interview.
Mm.
And yeah, this way you are just getting used to having conversation with friends. And then I think the
Right.
next step is to have conversations with people that you don't know.
Yes. Yes, you're right. Practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Um, so you mentioned that you are married and you have children. How do you balance running your business with the other aspects of your life, like your family and self-care?
Oh, yes. I think this is important. But what I like about podcast pitching is that it allows me to work whenever I want. I mean,
Okay.
even if I live in Romania and I might be 7 to 10 hours ahead of clients or
Mhm.
potential hosts who live in the US, I can still do my research during my morning,
Mm.
and then I can schedule those emails to go out at, I don't know, let's say business times for the US,
Mhm.
and they will not even know when I send that email. They
Right.
won't realize that actually I wrote it when they were sleeping. So Yes, I think this is one of the reasons that I like podcast pitching, because it allows me to have my own schedule. I don't have to have fixed hours where I need to work.
Mm,
And this allows me to have this flexibility that I need. So I
that's
can
great.
go and pick up my kids when I need to, so I can arrange all the things
Mm-hmm.
because I have this flexibility of this work that I do.
I love that. That's really awesome.
Yes, but I have to tell you that sometimes I feel that I want to learn more. I want to do other things as well. And
Oh,
I'm
okay.
watching a lot of trainings, and sometimes I consume a lot of content.
Mm,
And because I feel that I need to know how to show up better on social media, or I need to know how to write a better sales page, or I don't
yeah.
know. Yes, and I think this can be distracting. So here is where my struggle is, because I sign up for too many things. So
Mm,
here is where I need to learn to discern the information that I actually really need.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. That's interesting. Yeah, I
Mhm.
find that with entrepreneurship, since a lot of us are doing it solo, we have to play all of these different roles. And so there is a lot of learning that goes into it. And so we're always trying to learn how to do something new. And yeah, it can be distracting. You're absolutely right. Mhm.
Yes, yes. And everyone tells you that their method is the best. Well, I say the same thing, but yes, you know how it is. As an entrepreneur, you can do so many things. I mean, so many things are available, and sometimes you feel that you want to do everything. You want to send emails, you want to be on social media, you want to be on podcasts, you want to do, I don't know, webinars,
Yeah,
and there are so many things, but still we need to decide to stay focused, and we just need to start with one thing.
yes, yes, absolutely. Um, so it sounds like staying focused and not doing trying to learn too much is like a challenge that you've had to face. Is there any other challenges that you've had to overcome while running your business?
For example, right now I feel that I'm saying yes to too many things,
Oh,
um, because again, at the end of last year, I promised myself that this year I'm going to be even braver, and I will say yes to every opportunity that I find to help me grow as a person and as a
mm,
business owner. And this got me to this place where I decided to be part of a collaborative book. So I
okay.
need to write a chapter, and then it allowed me to be part of an amazing program that will help me to spend 4 weeks in Spain.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and I'm leaving in 10 days.
Oh.
And yes, I'm excited, but it also a struggle because my youngest kid is a girl, and she is pretty attached to me, and she asked me,
Oh,
"Mom, could you not go?"
mm,
And I'm like, yes, I could, but still, this is an amazing opportunity for me, and I
yeah,
want you to support me. And yeah, knowing that she feels this way, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be 4 weeks. It's a huge time for me to
yeah,
be away. But on the other hand, it's an opportunity that I don't want to miss.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. That sounds like a really great opportunity. So I'm really excited for you, and
Thank you.
I'm jealous. I wish I was going. Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
Spain is a beautiful country. I've been there. I did my master's degree in Spain, so I really
Oh.
loved it. Yes, yes.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
And I will meet at least 300 other entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs from the European Union. So it's going to be amazing.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I'll definitely have to check back in with you to see how that trip went. But Nina, it has been really great chatting with you. Before we go, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share where our listeners can find some more information about you. And if you have anything coming up that you want us to look out for, feel free to share that as well.
Thank you so much, Shayla.
Yeah.
If you are a female entrepreneur looking to get a little bit more visibility, maybe you want to share your message on podcast interviews, then I want to invite you to get ready. And I have a free checklist for you. I invite you to download it. You can visit my website oneluckystar.com/free checklist, and you will find the 10 essential things that you will need to have in place in order to show up as an amazing podcast guest.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And also, if you are on Instagram, you can find me at Nina_Macarie. My last name.
Awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, we'll definitely check you out on Instagram and your website. Thank you so much for joining us, Nina.
Thank you so much, Shayla. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
Yes, same. And thank you to our audience for listening. This has been another episode of the Building Her Dream podcast. If you've enjoyed it, why don't you go ahead and subscribe, leave us a review, and stay up to date with what we're doing by visiting www.buildingherdream.com.